Hi, I'm Mark Kramer, and I grew up in Cleveland. I didn't actually go to Case. My mother actually graduated from Case in the 1940s. At the time, it was the Flora Mather College for Women. Case hadn't yet become co-ed. But I certainly knew of Case and its reputation growing up. And for the last 25 years or so, my mother, while she was alive, and I and my kids through our charitable foundation have really been friends of Case and have been deeply involved in supporting and expanding the law clinic over those many years. When my father passed away in the early 1980s, and I myself had gone to law school in Philadelphia, we wanted to figure out a way to commemorate him, memorialize him in Cleveland with a major, prominent, reputable institution. But our foundation also had very strong values about helping people in need. And we realized that the law clinic really accomplished both. It trained lawyers for the future, but it also provided immediate benefits to people who couldn't afford their own representation. And so we began talking with the law school about what we could do to endow and expand the clinic. And at that time, which was now the early 90s, when we went to see the clinic, it was in the basement in two small rooms, literally next to the boiler. It had no resources. The faculty were almost entirely adjunct. There was no tenure track. And very few students were actually able to participate in the clinic just because of its limited capacity. Well, we were fortunate that it was exactly that time that Case was drawing up plans for its new law school building, which we now think of as the primary building. And so we were able to endow the clinic in memory of my father and help design the clinic offices to be prominently displayed when you enter the law school and to be designed really like a small law firm, so that people, even those who could not afford representation, would be accorded the dignity and respect of being treated as if they were true paying clients at a small law firm. We also worked with the law school to create a strategic advisory group that included the dean and faculty and students, but also included people from other law schools with other models of their clinics. And over the course of several years, we were able to help expand the clinic, to actually enable the clinic faculty to become eligible for tenure, which is still to this day very rare among law school clinics, and to find ways to really integrate the clinic experience, the practical experience, into the law school training of all of the students, not just the few who were able to go to the clinic. And it really has been a pleasure over the last 20 or 30 years to remain involved with the law school, to remain involved with the clinic, to see the many new clinics that they have launched, to see them raising foundation and other charitable contributions to expand the work, and really to see how what started out as a pretty modest gift to endow a pretty modest program has really become an important part of the law school. And when my mother passed away at 101 in 2021, we decided to make additional gifts to the clinic and to rename it not just in memory of my father, but in memory of both of my parents. And it is really one of the contributions and organizations in Cleveland that we are most proud of having been a part of. We felt it was very important that this be part of the law school for a couple reasons. One of which, there actually had been a major national study about law school education that came out around that time called the McCrate Report. And it strongly encouraged law schools to do more to create practical training so that when lawyers graduated, they had the skills to work with clients, to represent clients, and to handle the day-to-day work of being a lawyer that is really not covered in the traditional law school curriculum. So being able to improve the curriculum and really make Case a leader nationally in integrating clinical education was one of our objectives. But the other, and I would say just as important, is the fact that it takes law students and exposes them to the needs of indigent populations, to the needs of people who don't have representation. And whether they go on to practice law with a firm and do some pro bono work, or become legislators and politicians, or go into corporations, the experience of firsthand knowledge of people who need financial help to get on with their lives is, I believe, character shaping and an important attribute of law school education. Part of CASE's differentiation from other law schools in the country is really the commitment that has evolved over these last couple of decades to the law clinic, and really to integrating legal education into the, legal training and practice into the education of its students. And I think that differentiates CASE from other law schools to a significant degree. And I think it helps them turn out better lawyers, regardless of what career path the lawyers take. I think both the practical experience of having to represent clients, having to appear in court, having to draft documents, but also the personal experience of interacting with people who can't afford traditional lawyers and traditional law firms, and being exposed to the kinds of issues that affect people's lives so deeply, also help shape their legal education. But there is absolutely no question that the clinic is helping a great many people in really important ways. I recall a few years ago a major settlement that they were able to get against landlords over eviction issues. They have done programs that have helped elderly people who are being abused by various scams understand and protect themselves against the scams. They have helped people in all kinds of different issues and all kinds of different situations in a very meaningful way. And my understanding is that the legal community in Cleveland, including judges and prosecutors and defendants, defense attorneys rather, actually do send people to the clinic at CASE, and it has become known as a tremendously important community resource for the people living in Cleveland. I'm very proud to be inducted into the Bencher Society, particularly since I am not a CASE alum. And so CASE had to reach out a bit further to include me, for which I'm grateful. And I really have had a pretty close relationship with the law clinic over the last 30 years. So to me, it feels like a great honor and recognition to have that relationship memorialized by becoming a member of the Bencher Society, along with some of Cleveland's most prominent attorneys and judges. So I went to undergraduate school at Brandeis in Boston. I majored in philosophy. I then went to business and law school in a joint program at University of Pennsylvania and the Wharton School. I actually clerked in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals for a remarkable judge, Judge Alvin Rubin, and joined Ropes and Gray, a law firm in Boston. I didn't stay there very long, to be honest. I found that practicing in a large firm was really not for me. So I left after just a couple of years and began working with startup companies and helping to invest in them, raise capital for them, take different management positions, and really did this sort of version of venture capital for quite a number of years before I ended up in the 1990s, late 90s, starting a nonprofit organization, the Center for Effective Philanthropy, which began to develop ways that foundations could measure and assess their own philanthropic performance, and also Foundation Strategy Group, which became known as FSG, which grew into about a 150-person global social impact strategy consulting firm. So I've spent most of the last 30 years actually focused on the question of how to do philanthropy effectively and well, and how to solve social problems. And it's really in that context that I find the clinic's work to be so important. The growth and the excellence of the law clinic is really due to the excellence of its staff and the commitment of its staff. And I've had the privilege of knowing many of the clinic staff and certainly all of the clinic leaders for the last 25 years. And I am constantly impressed by their dedication to the work, by their creativity, by their legal skills, and by their commitment to serving the people of Cleveland.